Most think this is a story of dragons. It is not. Dawn's pale light filters through the ancient forest's skeletal canopy, casting jagged shadows over Schrade's fractured towers frozen mid-collapse. Below, modern boots crunch through hoarfrost reach blinding whiteout, seekers exhaling plumes of breath as they trace paths once walked by architects of ruin. The black filters through the ancient dragon's wrath was not a forest's mystery. Magic, casting jagged paths once walked coaxed by from shadows over architects of ruin. Schrade's fractured obsidian towers frozen mid-altar's collapse, now twisted into a storm of fire. Their hunger for power split the earth asunder. What if the guild's first wound bled from their own hands? The guild's charge was balance. Across fractured lands they stewarded beasts, tracked migrations, and buried secrets. But in Schrade their hunger outpaced their wisdom. Ancient wyvern rights lay dormant in the kingdom's veins. The guild's ancestors seeking dominion unearthed them. Charms were carved, blood was spilled, the earth pulsed, not in wrath but warning. The black dragon came at dusk, wings tore the sky, cities burned. Yet its fury was not foreign, it was summoned, a force unchained by mortal hands. The guild's first law, no life may tip the scales, they broke it. Their hubris turned guardian to predator. Schrade's ash is both monument and caution. What survives the blade's edge learns to bleed, the guild endures. But every scar whispers the same truth, some magic does not forgive. In the shadow of the obsidian peaks, the first guild expedition carved its name into stone. Their torches guttered against winds older than kings. They sought knowledge, not war, but knowledge, once unearthed, does not yield gently. Deep within Schrade's heart, they unearthed sigils pulsing with a hunger that mimicked their own. The ancestors etched their names into these runes, believing they tamed forces. Instead, they answered a call long silent. The ground wept. Crystals fractured, spilling light that did not heal, but seared. What is broken beneath the earth always demands reparation. The wyvern's sleep disturbed became a roar. Not all ancient things await conquest, some await reckoning. The sky split. A shadow with wings drowned the sun. Schrade burned not by chance, but by Equoit's demise, a reflection of the ancestors' greed. The guild's first scar was not a wound, but a warning. Some doors, once opened, become graves. The hunter's guild endures. But every grave whispers the same truth. Some magic does not forgive. The scholars of Schrade, enticed by the power, deepened the experiments. Each inscription unraveled bindings older than their towers. The balance, fragile and ancient, shattered. The kingdom's final act was not a battle, but a collapse. A civilization undone by its own ambition, mistaking the dragon's slumber for surrender. The guild's blade, sharp with curiosity, found. The air was thick with the scent of pine and iron. Hunters moved like wraiths through the amber glow of twilight, their nets woven not to kill but to contain. The black dragon coiled in its glade, scales shimmering like obsidian glass, its breath a visible mist that curled into the cold. For decades, the guild had played God, caging alpha predators to study their ancient magic, never asking if the forest noticed. A younger hunter, Kale, remembers the dragon's eyes, twin pools of liquid amber, not mindless fury but something sharper. He felt it then, the weight of a gaze that saw his name, his intent. The dragon's roar shook the valley, not in rage but warning. The guild dismissed it as instinct. They had charts, treaties, ethical guidelines. What they did not have was humility. By moonrise, the glade was a cage of iron and arrogance. The dragon's magic seeped into the soil, sweet and lethal as honey. Vines thickened, roots cracked stone, and the air grew heavy with a static that burned the skin. Kale's hand trembled as he tightened the last chain. He did not yet know the forest was counting. The balance had always been a conversation. The guild's ancestors spoke only in commands. When the ground split beneath Schrade, it was not the dragon's revenge, it was the biome exhaling. The ethical code, so carefully etched, crumbled faster than the keep's foundations. What the guild failed to see was this: to cage a keystone species is not to master nature. It is to become the first stone in a house of sand. The guild's ancestors built a forge in the ashen wastes. They named it the Equal Dragon Weapon. Its purpose, to neutralize elder dragons, apex predators beyond taxonomy's grasp. The weapon fired not arrows but equilibrium, binding ancient magics to invert a wyvern's life force. one test, one mistake. The sky cracked open. The elder dragon they targeted did not die. It burned. Its roar split the bedrock. What the guild sought to cage became a prism, refracting wrath across the ley lines. Schrade's spires quaked as the black dragon descended. Not a raid, not conquest, retribution. The weapon's backlash had awakened the Forbidden Lands, a slumbering scar beneath the world. The guild's archives call it an apex shift. A term for the day predators became gods, the day Schrade's walls crumbled under a rain of obsidian scales. Hunters fled. Scrolls were salted, yet the truth outlives ash. The weapon did not fail, it worked too well. What if the guild's first great tragedy was a self-inflicted wound? They carved a keystone from the wild's spine and watched the house of sand collapse. The black dragon did not destroy Schrade. It completed the equation. The Forbidden Lands breathe again, and somewhere the next variable awaits. The frenzy virus bled Gore Magala's jungles long before the guild's first blade. Containment failed, paths cracked. Could they have seen the storm in the first spark? The ancestors carved wyvern sigils into Schrade's bones, not to wield but to unbind. Every shattered vault, every corrupted well, whispered of a debt. The black dragon did not fall from the sky. It rose from the wilderness counts. What wakes next will not forget. The earth stank of ozone before it cracked. Stone spires split like brittle bone, black ichor seeping upward in serpentine veins. Guild scholars, cloaks still damp from the alchemical storm, watched their sigils unravel blue fire sputtering into the maw of something older. Then the ground spoke, a roar that bent light, heat so absolute it vaporized the snow line in seconds. Fatalis emerged not from darkness but from the guild's own light. The first scholar to die was Kale. His journal, found days later in Schrade's ashen lake, describes the dragon's ice pupils like collapsing stars, irises that mirrored his own terror. We fed it our will, he wrote, and it fed back. The guild's labs, once humming with wyvern essence, became a crucible. They had sought apex displacement, a way to harness primal energy without consequence. They forgot the old law, apex cannot be displaced. Displaced, when the primal dragon fell, it did not land, descended. Apex cannot be displaced, mountains became ash. The Schrade spire, their crowning monument to order its marble face, melted to obsidian in one breath. You can still see the scorch line where the sky burned into the earth. The guild archives call it a containment breach. But the wind howls through those tunnels now, carrying the scent of iron and burnt hair. A final act, the last guildmaster, Vera, stood at the threshold of the breach. Her sapphire ring, a token of forbidden knowledge, slipped from her charred hand. It lies buried beneath the spire's carcass, still warm. Some say the dragon's heartbeat vibrates through it. Others insist the guild's bones keep the rhythm. The ruins are not silent. At night the cold air tastes of sulfur. The wilderness counts. The latest surveys claw through Schrade's frozen breath. Artifacts emerge, scorched tablets, rusted instruments each etched with wyvern craft. The guild's ancestors did not seek power, they sought understanding, but understanding, like fire, demands control. Iceborne chasms still rattle with the echoes of unstable magic. What were they chasing? A dragon's heart, a wyvern's mind. The records crumble, only the cold ash remains active, whispering in fractured code. Modern hunters report shadows that move in the ash. Breath that smells of iron. The guild's bones are not the only ones buried there. The black dragon did not descend as a thief. It answered a summons. The Iceborne were not an invasion, they were retribution. The same magic that mapped constellations on a dragon bone forges now bends space, time, flesh. A commission in Rentia documents a fissure opening beneath a training hall. No political edict can seal it. The guild was never a kingdom, still its legacy is carved in fissures. Fatalis stirs in data streams. A new breed of hunter follows the math, not the blood. They track a pattern. Every failed expedition, every dead transponder, converges toward the epicenter of Schrade's final scream. The sulfur taste lingers. At night the cold air hums, not wind, a low, endless frequency, a shadow longer than the ruins. The hunters count their steps, the ruins count their dead. And beneath it all, the guild's oldest truth sleeps and burned, unbroken, waiting for the next hand to touch what was never meant to be held. Elder dragons stalk the fractured peaks, apex predators, sculptors of ruin. Their wings cast shadows over the skeletal remains of Schrade's heart. Wyverians move in their wake, not mere beasts, but sentient scribes, bound to the chroniclers who dare transcribe this age. Their migrations, called elder crossings, are not chaos, they are commissions, sieges. The Fifth Fleet's rusted hulks litter the dust where sky met sea, remnants of a war fought not for conquest but containment. The guild's ancestors did not summon the black dragon, they unmoored its chains. Their experiments with wyvern magic Schrade unstable ignited a storm that reshaped continents. What they sought was mastery, what they forged was a reckoning. The dragons did not descend as invaders, they returned as inevitability. The crossings grew frequent, the fleet grew silent. And in the ash the Wyverians carved their elegies, their howls echoing the same truth: no hand may hold what was never meant to be lifted. All lingers here not for the destruction, but for the tenacity of life that clings to the bones of collapse. The Fifth Fleet's rusted hulls still whisper, the Wyverians still wander. And the black dragon's shadow, vast and patient, waits for the next hand to touch what the first could not let go. Beneath Schrade's ash they found the gears, not of war but of a clockwork altar fused to obsidian veins. The guild's ancestors did not merely study wyvern magic, the asterisk channeled asterisk it, carving conduits into living stone. What did they seek? Power, perhaps. Or the delusion of mastery. The forbidden lands, untouched and vast, had long guarded their secrets. But this machine asterisk breathed asterisk fire into the balance. The black dragon did not fall from the sky. It rose from the earth, its wings fracturing the altars that had summoned it. Fifth Fleet logs, scorched and surviving, speak of a cataclysmic resonance. The guild's engineers, too late, realized their conduits had not tamed the wyvern's legacy asterisk amplified asterisk it. A kingdom's end framed not as invasion but as correction. No ritual, no curse, just physics forged in hubris. The Schrade relics prove it. Every artifact recovered pulses with the same frequency as wyvern bone. The guild's first tragedy was not betrayal or betrayal's shadow. It was a mistake the dragons do not repeat. Wyverian outposts still stand half-buried. Their walls bear no warnings, only equations. Calculations that, if followed, might avoid the fate of those who dared to asterisk listen asterisk. The Hunters' Guild, born afterward, never knew the truth. They inherited a world where dragons were enemies, not asterisk judges asterisk, the relics whisper. Not reverence, not fear, a simpler, colder truth. Some doors once opened cannot be closed, only sealed by the fire that broke them. The Schrade Valley was a crucible. The guild's first codex on wyvern symbiosis was forged in its ash. They called it stewardship. They called it progress, but the scales of the black dragon did not glint with ambition. They bore the weight of a world pushed past its limits. The ancestors carved glyphs into living stone, believing they could bind the ancient pacts. Failed to at sea, they came as a thread. Ritual Wings unraveled the blotch, the ski knot in rage forest's breath. Every sigil siphoned the river's song. The dragon did not come as a god, it came as a reckoning. Wings blotched the sky not in rage but grief. The guild's archives now whisper of a king who begged for mercy, his crown laid at the altar of his own folly. The land, once teeming, withered into a monument of teeth and bone. The Hunters' Guild still walks its ridges, not to conquer, but to lustento the silence where balance once thrived. What is stewardship without understanding? The guild learned the answer in fire. Their descendants etched that lesson into every patrol, every tracking mark. Schrade's shadow lingers in every council chamber, a ghost that refuses to fade. The dragon's end was not a victory. It was a question: who wields the knife when the earth bleeds? The answer lies in the scars. The scars do not speak. The guild's first wound bled silence. What did their ancestors awaken when they carved wyvern sigils into Schrade's heart? The black dragon did not fall from the skit rose, forged in their fire. Every shattered spire whispers of hubris, every ash-marked stone a ledger of lives traded for power. The Forbidden Lands expedition hunts these truths,